Oh, hello there. I'm South Jersey Sam, and a happy 4th of July to all of you. Now, I'm sure those of you outside the U.S. may not care about the holiday, but us Americans have great pride in this national holiday, so much so that we make our own traditions to help celebrate the birth of our nation. And of course, this celebration always ends with fireworks and a barbecue here and there. But today, I'm going over something different, something that takes a different aspect of America's history, as seen from an old Disneyland attraction. Now you might be thinking, wait, a Disneyland attraction that goes over America's history? I don't think that's well established in the Hall of Presidents. Well, that's not the ride I'm referring to, nor am I referring to the American Adventure attraction located in Epcot at Walt Disney World. Besides, that attraction needs to be refurbished for a particular reason. Now, this review is about an extinct attraction from Disneyland that took an approach towards America's history through the songs that helped build the nation throughout the years. This is America Sings. This attraction has a very interesting history to it, before and after its closure. America Sings was a large rotating building that would show the history of America's music throughout the years, from early years in the South to modern day in the 1970s. But this wasn't the first ride in Disneyland that had this type of premise. In fact, the building used to belong to a ride known as the Carousel of Progress back in 1967, an old attraction that would take you through time of the progression of technology throughout the years with a sponsorship by GE. But as the 70s came, the ride's popularity began to fade and was eventually moved out to the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World. Still there to this day, believe it or not. So what would happen to the theater itself? What would take its place? Well, this task was given to Mark Davis, one of Disney's 9 old men, and Albertino, who wrote a couple of Disney shorts during the 50s. Both had worked on a number of attractions at Disneyland, including their latest attraction at the time, the Country Bear Jamboree. This would also be the first attraction made after Walt Disney's passing. So it all came down to the concept. What would be a good idea for the attraction? Well, they took the cabaret style based on Country Bear Jamboree, then took the concept of going from the past to the present with the stage from Carousel of Progress, add in the fact that the nation's bicentennial anniversary was approaching in a few years, have Davis design the characters for the attraction while having Bertino work on finding the right songs to use, and you have America Sings, opening on June 29, 1974. So now that we have that out of the way, let's take a look back in the past to see how the ride fared back then. As we make our way inside the rotating theater, we get a nice little outdoor gazebo taking center stage. Despite the background being a painting, it has a rather nostalgic and rustic charm to accompany the setting. The music is nice to listen to as you take your seat and wait for the show to begin. And after the Disneyland employee gives out the usual rules and regulations like no flash photography, no smoking, no feeding churros to some jerk with a camera, the show begins. And it's here we meet our two hosts, Ollie the Owl and Sam the Eagle.
These so-called conservationists.
Been done before. Next.
Yankee Doodle went to town a-riding on a pony. Stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni.
If only they knew what the real meaning of the song was, they would feel pretty damn silly. Macaroni Club.
Yes, folks, that was America's first popular song. And that's what this show is all about. America's music.
Where'd the songs come from, Sam?
Why, they were the songs that people brought from their native countries.
They did? What kind of music was it?
Sometimes it was happy, sometimes it was sad.
And sometimes it was awkward or preachy or just made no sense, and as time would pass, we would get artists who made complete asses out of themselves and they barely worked on their music, and... sorry, I kind of got out of hand there.
But frankly, I prefer...
All around the cobbler's bench, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought 'twas all in fun. Goes the weasel.
And here's our running gag for the ride. Kinda pointless, really. Don't worry, I won't include it in the review. So our two hosts take us on a journey into the past as we move into the South from the 1800s. It should be noted that each time period we visit, we are greeted by a group of geese singing a few songs that fit the setting. So we get the quartet singing songs like Dixieland, Little Liza Jane, and Camptown Races. Then we cut to a little scene with an old hound rocking in his chair as we hear the song My Old Kentucky Home.
The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the home folks are gay.
It's the good life.
Yeah, it may sound like a nice song, and it is, but just look at the original lyrics and you'll feel a tad uncomfortable. But enough about that. Have some Polly Wally Doodle from the Swamp Boys. That'll elude the thoughts of racism. We're Disney after all. Disneyland. We're PC. We always have been. All footage of our company's politically incorrect moments have been incinerated or digitally altered.
And now, a tender complaint.
Sung from the heart.
When I was single, dress up so fine. Now I am married, go ragged all the time. Lord, I wish I was a single girl again.
I wouldn't laugh if I were you. Most of you out there are in the same boat as she is.
Well, I'm gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside.
Again, this is another song with a special meaning to it. This song was sung by the slaves during the Civil War and was one of the many songs they sang in hopes of freedom. While part of the song referenced death, the song itself had code words for the slaves to escape their owners and flee to the north. But to be fair, there are religious references in the lyrics as well, giving a sense of faith to the song. So when this sequence and this song played out together, it gives a sense of how the South was beginning to have peace after slavery was abolished. Or you just don't really give a shit where the song came from, just like every other asshole. So we cut back to Sam and Ollie as they give us an exposition of our country's next step and transition our way into the days of the Wild West frontier, with songs like Drill Ye Terriers Drill, I've Been Working on the Railroad, and
Here she comes, look at her roll. There she goes, ain't that cold? Watch her fly and look at her sail. Let her by, fireball nail.
That's what live theatre needs, a few more massacres.
alright, enough of this. Let's move on before things get awkward.
Yeah! Well, come along, boys, and listen to my tale, and I'll tell you all my troubles on the old Chisholm Trail. Down my tie, yippee, yippee, yay!
Well, that made it a little easier. I should point out that the voice behind that turkey is Chill Wills, famous singer and actor, who sadly passed away 4 years after the ride's opening. It should also be noted that Wills did not want to be on the ride at all, mainly because of the rotating theater. Even when the Imagineers wanted to show him a preview of his segment, he still refused to be on the ride. Whatever the reason, it was very peculiar. Speaking of peculiarities...
Who shot that hole in my sombrero? Who put that bullet through my heart?
This spot was one of the only changes to occur before they opened the attraction. Why? The accent. In the original audio for the ride, the voice of the dog had more of a Mexican accent and had a few different lyrics at the end of the song.
Was he Pancho from the rancho? Did he do this because I kissed his wife?
When they showed this version in a press conference, they weren't impressed. They wanted to have the voice be less foreign and more traditional. As a result, the voice changed to the gruff, southern voice that was heard during the attraction. Whichever you prefer, both are amusing in their own way.
The tail end of Billy the Kid,
Sung by the Boot Heel Boys.
Billy was a bad guy and carried a big gun.
He was always after lawmen and kept them on the run.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America Sings, not the Haunted Mansion. Where's the ghost host? I didn't hear him make an appearance whatsoever. I don't remember this ride moving into
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Finally, we get the last song of the segment, the all-too-familiar Home on the Range. Oh, fuck you, joke. Get out of here. Go in the corner. Bad joke. Bad.
Where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
After the song ends, Sam and Ollie lead us into the next time period of the 1890s, or the gay 90s as they were called. Here we see our geese quartet dress appropriately as traditional barbershop singers.
The Bowery, they say such things and they do strange things. After the ball is over, after the break of morning. licensed saloon.
Learning new vices all the night long, tempted to all that's sinful and wrong, listening to the siren's old song down in the licensed saloon.
Yes, God forbid that young lad has a nice swing of ale. Why, I've heard of so many other concoctions that are just so damn deadly, like 7 and 7s and horse necks and the dreaded mojitos. God help you if you have the mojitos. Just look what it did to Blossom Nose Murphy here.
Sweet Adeline, my Adeline.
This poor soul can barely keep a tune with him being so plastered off his ass. He couldn't handle the beer like a man. I dare anyone out there to show me one man who could handle his beer and still sing like an angel.
Sweet Adeline, my Adeline.
I withdraw my last statement.
Oh, great there!
What she used to be, what she used to be, what she used to be.
Oh, great there!
What she used to be many long years ago.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Ta-ra-ra-boom-die-ay, 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 ta-ra-ra-boom-die-ay.
Yep, can't end the gay 90s without this song. It's hard to determine when this song was originally created, but after a couple performers sang this song in different theaters, it became the song of the time period. Though the only good rendition I know of is the one by George Carlin.
Ta-ra-ra-boom-die-ay, did you get yours today? I got mine yesterday, that's why I walk this way.
Afterwards, Sam and Ollie direct us to the next time period, which is the only part of the attraction with the biggest flaw. Now, I have nothing against this segment whatsoever. It's entertaining like the previous segments. It just felt rushed as it tries to go over various songs from the 1900s all the way into the present of that time. You have the Geese Quartet singing 3 songs written between the 1910s and the 1920s, both fitting the same melody and feeling that both decades had at the time. Then you followed up with a group of cats and canines singing A Tisket a Tasket, which was made in the late 30s, yet still fit the same setting as the last 2 songs. Then you cut to Beat Me Daddy 8 to the Bar, where we get into the boogie-woogie style of music that completely changes the feeling drastically from the calm mood we had earlier, and added a group of crazy-looking musicians in outlandish outfits singing hits from the 50s like Hound Dog, See You Later Alligator, and Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Then add in Twistin' USA by 2 motorcycling storks from the 1960s, and you rush through your last moment in time like it was good enough. There were so many songs that could have been used to help establish each decade and each type of music that was created over the years, but they hardly focused well enough on this segment. Despite this setback, the songs are still well performed, and it closes out on a rather interesting song, Joy to the World.
Joy to the world, the Lord is...
Bad joke. You go in the corner with the other joke. That was just forced. So as Sam and Ollie give us one last moment before we are sent back to where we started, we find ourselves back in the gazebo as Sam gives us one last song to play out before we leave. And this is one of my personal favorite moments out of the ride.
Yankee Doodle always says, the past is just the start. Tomorrow will bring songs to you that come straight from the heart. Another thing he had to say was life is just a song. So everybody get in tune and let's all sing along.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne?
Goodbye, goes a weasel.
Oh, shut up! So that was America Sings. Was it as good as it built up to be? Well, yes, actually. It was a pretty interesting ride with a nice little idea, and it was very entertaining. But unfortunately, the history of the ride itself has not been very pretty. And I think some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. On July 8th, 1974, a mere 8 days after the ride opened, a tragic incident occurred with a young cast member. 18-year-old Deborah Gale Stone was working inside the attraction, but was stuck between the stationary wall of the building and the rotating wall of the stage. There was no determining factor of what happened exactly, but the end result was not pretty. Her screams were heard during the attraction, and people thought it was just part of the experience. Because of this, Deborah's parents sued Disney for safety violations, and a small settlement was given. As a result, the ride closed down to install safer features, such as safety lights and a different type of material for the walls, making it easier for cast members to get through. Other changes to the ride occurred as the years passed. One of the major changes was to remove 2 of the geese singers from the first 2 segments of the attraction and use them for the walkthrough spots of Star Tours. So the quartet became trios, and the missing singers had other jobs to do. However, due to fewer and fewer visits to the attraction, the ride would eventually close down on April 10th, 1988. But what would become of the animatronics used in the attraction? Well, around that time, Disney was working on a new ride for the Bear Country section, later renamed Critter Country, which would later be known as Splash Mountain. But because animatronics aren't cheap, they would use the animatronics from the America Sings attraction. It would later become so successful that they would release the ride into their other parks, Walt Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland, with the same characters being used for the ride. Despite the success, the only person who was not exactly happy about this was Mark Davis. The ride was one of his personal favorites. All the work he put in, all the effort, all of the talent, all to be closed after years. It was a major blow for him when they had to close the theater down just so they could use the characters for the ride, almost as bad when the Deborah Gale Stone incident occurred. He was so upset that he never went on Splash Mountain at all. As for the theater itself, it was closed until 1998 when they replaced it with Innoventions, which lasted until March of 2015 when they changed it into the Star Wars Launch Bay. As for Splash Mountain and the character switch, it was a good way to keep the characters around so they wouldn't be forgotten, even though Sam the Eagle and Ollie the Owl were never used for the ride. But that doesn't mean America Sings or any of the characters were forgotten after all that. During the release of the Vinylmations figures, Disney created 2 figures of Sam the Eagle and Ollie the Owl as part of the Park Series sets. Only the die-hard fans would recognize them. On top of that, during the Disney D3 Expo in August of 2015, the Walt Disney Archives helped bring in a few old props from the attraction, including a few heads of the animatronics used, like Sam's head here. And even the fans never forgot about the ride. Although you won't find any fan art based on it or any of the characters, you will find a rather interesting project made by animator James Lopez. James Lopez is one of the best animators in the modern animation era, working on various animated films between Disney and DreamWorks in either 2D or 3D animation, and he might be working on the upcoming Dragon Slayer movie with Don Bluth. He's also working on his own Indiegogo crowd-funded film, Hullabaloo, a film done with characters in a steampunk setting done in old-fashioned hand-drawn animation. But before he had done any of this, he had worked on a project by creating an animated rendition of America Sings, with storyboard animatics and full hand-drawn animation to play out the scenes from the attraction. He had worked on this for over 15 years, doing it on and off whenever he had the chance. He had also dedicated this project to Mark and Alice Davis, who had also worked on the ride, and even Buddy Baker. And with what's shown in the video, I can definitely say he has done a phenomenal job, and they would be very proud of his work. So, in conclusion, America Sings was a nice little attraction that really had a nice message to it. While it was a tad dated and the last segment of the modern songs was a tad rushed, it was still a good ride. While history has not been kind to the ride, it was still an interesting idea to work with and had a great amount of talent involved, with Burl Ives making a great host for the main character. And I think this would have been a good attraction to have around just a little longer. Hell, I wouldn't mind seeing this replace the Carousel of Progress at Walt Disney World. But like all rides from the past, it's best to leave it be and remember of the fond memories it gave people throughout the years. And much like Sam the Eagle said, the past is just the start. Tomorrow we'll bring songs to you that come straight from the heart. Well, that's all for now. I have to admit, doing an extinct attraction is not exactly easy, especially how this is the 240th birthday of America's freedom. And with that, I say goodbye, happy 4th of July, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as well as Channel Frederator and Cartoon Hangover. Also, visit me and Channel Frederator on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Just click on the annotations. And for more of my videos, visit me on Mr. Coat and Friends, which is thatfellowinthecoat.com. Booyah!